Hey everyone, and welcome to SkillCapped. My name is Dr. Zora and welcome to another Valorant map meta guide. Today we're going to be breaking down how you can dominate on Haven. Haven is one of the most interesting maps in Valorant as it's the only map that has 3 spike sites instead of 2. This causes the map to be played very differently from the rest. There's more areas that you can go to and it gets confusing on where exactly you should be at any given moment. Which site should we go to and where should we defend? We're going to simplify this for you so that you can be more comfortable on the map and absolutely destroy your enemies on it. So without further ado, let's jump right into the video. Going right into our question of the day for y'all, let us know in the comments below on which map in Valorant is your favorite at the moment. We're curious as to what our community enjoys the most and least. We found Haven to be more towards the middle of the pack, but are curious if you guys agree. Perhaps your favorite was Haven, but Breeze has taken that spot after it was released. We've gotten some surprise answers to this question and want to see what you guys are thinking as well. First up, one of the fundamental aspects of Haven is contesting ultimate orbs. Both the attackers and defenders have ultimate orbs that are quite easy to take. For attackers, the easiest orb to grab is at C long, and for the defenders, the ultimate orb is right outside A long. These are quite far for the other side to contest, and as such, you should always try to grab them to give your team more ultimates each half. If you're able to grab them every round, you can easily get an extra Sage Res or Phoenix ultimate that can be monumental for maintaining man advantages and map control. To grab these orbs is quite simple. There are multiple abilities that can be used the same way to capture the orbs. The easiest way is to drop a smoke to block off enemy vision and then take it. You can also use other abilities such as a Phoenix Wall. Anything that will block vision will do the trick here. The other option is to try to tap the ultimate orb and fake it to trigger the animation sound, and then you and another player from your team peek and get ready to fight anyone who tries to check it. If someone does peek you, you can take them out and then the orb is yours. If not, you can grab the orb while your team continues to check, but make sure you don't attempt this on your own as you risk the chance of the enemy then picking you off. Speaking of picking people off, if you want to improve your chances of picking off enemies with insane ease, then go to SkillCapped.com to unlock our hyper improvement system that will teach you everything you need to blast through the rankings in Valorant. The link will be provided in the description below. Continuing on, one of the key aspects to play Haven is taking middle control. Middle is arguably the most important part of the map. It allows you the access to B site, but also gives you more pathways to enter the other sites. For example, you could run straight through into the B site, or you could use the B site to actually split push onto the A or C sites. You also have Garage, which if you can take control of that, then you'll have access to splitting into the C site or jumping out window into the B site. Middle control gives so much room for different plays to be made on the attacker side, so as an attacker you want to contest it as much as possible. For example, you can flash out window and peek out to see if anyone is pushing down middle from B. Likewise, you want to have someone looking at Garage to make sure the defenders aren't pushing out there and grabbing a free pick. If no one peeks, then you should creep your way in and try to take Garage either by smoking off window and pushing, or using a flash if either of those are available. Likewise, on the defender side, you want to also contest middle as much as possible to deny the attackers the space and room to make those different pushes. This can be quite risky though, as there is a good chance that there's going to be more attackers at middle than defenders, so the odds are stacked against you. However, if you do have agents that have a safety net and can fall back for free after peeking, then you should absolutely give it a go to deny that space. For example, having a jet opping on containers can be great for denying attackers that want to do a mid to B play. Along with that, you could also smoke off window and slowly creep your way down middle to peek grass. Most players do not expect this, and you'll be able to grab a free pick and dash away before the enemy can react. You can also do this with Reyna since she does have her dismiss as another escape route. Similarly, any agents with flashes could play Garage and flash out of grass to grab a quick peek and kill before backing out. All of these are great options to slow the attackers down and prevent them from dominating middle. With middle control out of the way, let's get into the more detailed areas of the attacker side and defender side. On the attacker side, you really want to take advantage of the fact that there are 3 spike sites and 5 entry points to get to those sites. This means that the defenders will have to be more split up to cover their bases, and because they're split up, you can easily overwhelm them with sheer numbers. This does not mean though that you can charge in wherever you want as you please. For example, if we don't get middle control, our options are really to run down C long or run down A long and A short to hit those respective sites. The pathways to get to these sites from here is quite long and actually gives ample time for the enemy team to rotate over. By the time you make it onto the site itself, there's probably at least 3 players there and they can have a pretty strong hold. Instead, you want to take things much slower. Play around middle like we mentioned earlier, and if you can grab that, you want to try to play mind games with the enemy and force them to rotate too early. For example, if we were able to successfully take Garage control, the enemies are likely going to expect that a C hit or B hit is coming. As a result, if you made the appropriate noise and ruckus, the A players will try to rotate over, leaving A free for the taking. Your other teammates can then slowly move their way up towards the A site and take it. Having a lurker while doing these mind games can also be greatly beneficial, especially if your team is forcing the defenders to rotate often. For example, with the Garage hit that we mentioned, most players will assume a C hit is about to occur. Now, rotating from A to C from spawn is going to be very long, and as a result, most players will go through the B site to rotate. If you have a player that's around middle, he or she can cut off those rotations and get some easy frags. This can also make it much easier for your team to regroup for the actual site that you're about to take. We recommend doing these mind games, but also making sure that we don't overdo this and commit to the sites as well from time to time, as trying to do these rotations over and over can be quite draining and eventually predictable. Now if you aren't able to get this control off the bat, we recommend trying to go for split pushes onto a site at the very least. What split pushing is when your team hits a site from multiple directions. For example, on the A site you can push to A short and A long, and on the C site you can push to C long and garage. B really only has one entrance point, and it's also really easy for the enemies to retake, so we recommend going to that site only as a surprise factor, since the other sites are much easier and will force defenders to rotate longer. With split pushing, you're forcing the defenders to have to split up their attention onto different areas. This then allows you to get into more favorable duels where you have the strength in numbers. You don't want to make these split pushes too obvious though. Like we mentioned, if you straight up run down a site from the get-go, the enemies will be able to rotate quite quickly. Instead, you want to try to deny as much information as possible and keep them guessing. If you're trying to hit the A site, for example, you can smoke off A long and creep your way up into A short. Once you get close enough, then that's a good time to go for the push. You can also smoke off A long to psych the defenders out, as they'll have to respect the possibility that your team actually went through A short with it. This then keeps the defenders at bay and makes them more hesitant to rotate as you go for another site. Now onto the defender side. Like we mentioned earlier, a standard setup people will try to do is having one player onto every choke point on Haven. So one player A long, one A short, one middle, one garage, and one C long. Unless your team is made of all insane fraggers that can hold their own, this setup actually makes it quite difficult to defend each site. Because you're so split up, the attackers can easily overwhelm one of the entry points and free up space for them to hit the site. Because of this, we recommend trying to coordinate team plays to gather information. For example, the aggressive mid play we mentioned earlier could be a great individual play for intel, but you can also coordinate this push with your garage player. If you both push in at the same time, you'll be able to better pinch any attackers that are at grass, thus increasing your odds of getting the frags, but also taking control of that area. This then leaves the attackers with much less options. Without middle, they'll have to go for a more isolated push to the other sites. This isn't just limited to middle and grass though, as you can do these same coordinated plays to take over other areas of the map, such as C long or A short and A long. If you use the buddy system and coordinate these peaks, you'll find yourself having a good idea of where the attackers are going to hit, and therefore have ample time to rotate and set up for it. With that being said though, you won't be able to always get these sorts of pushes every single round. The attackers could catch on and prepare for it, or they could just be the better players and crush you. If this is the case, we recommend what we call trading map control. Essentially what this means is you're giving up control of one area while taking control of another area on the map. If the attackers were able to take over garage, then you're going to want to take something else in return. For example, a player could push to A short to see if anyone is lurking over on the A site, or if the attackers are trying to rotate over and hit the A site after getting garage. This opens the door for the other A defender to rotate quickly over to the B or C site to help the team out. If done properly, you'll have quite a few teammates at the right position to defend the site that the attackers are trying to hit. If they hit C or B, you got the players for it, and if they rotate to A, you have a player there that can call it out quickly and call for the rotation before they can arrive onto the site. Ideally, we want to be able to dominate the whole map, but this can be quite difficult to do. Therefore, trading control is the next best option to allow you to play the rotations and not give up too much to the attackers. Lastly, with how spread out you can be on the defender site, having abilities that can stall is heavily important on this map. This means that having sentinels such as Killjoy, Sage, and Cypher will be incredibly valuable, as they can essentially hold off a push on their own, thus giving more room for the rest of your team to rotate and have more players on other sites. Along with this, having controllers are also insanely valuable, as their smokes, molotovs, and walls are great for stalling the attackers further and giving more time for you to figure out which side is being pushed and getting the appropriate setup ahead of time. Alright, if you haven't already, make sure to comment what your favorite map is in Valorant. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to get more premium guides just like this one with one goal in mind: helping you become a better player. We here at SkillCapped want to thank you for watching. We'll catch you in the next. I'm Dr. Zora, and good luck out there.